Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante, now with Bitcoin, more Bitcoin. Folks, this is a way to support our show. If you want to send our show Bitcoin, this is an on-chain address. At the end of the video, I will add a Lightning address if you want to do that as well. We're going all Bitcoin in. We're going all in. We're talking, but we're going to, what Political Vigilante is going to be doing, still going to be talking about politics and how Bitcoin relates to it. That's the focus of the show now, because to me, Bitcoin is the answer. It's the solution. It can end climate collapse. It can end the military-industrial complex. It can end the central banks. It can end, well, the central banks fund all of those things. It can end corrupt governments. It can do all of these amazing things. So we got to pay a close attention to the global currency markets. And this just happened with the yen. Japan's currency falls to its weakest since 1990 against the dollar as the yen keeps yelping. So what does this mean? Again, this is an AP. This is mainstream media outlets. The value of Japan's currency has tumbled so much that for a moment on Monday, it took 160 yen to equal a dollar. A few years ago, it took closer to 100 yen to make a dollar. The yen has been so weak that it's back to where it was in 1990, shortly after Japan's famous bubble economy burst. After it briefly touched the 160 yen level in overnight hours for traders in New York, the value of the dollar quickly shifted back to 156 yen by midday morning on the East Coast. What that means is the Japanese government is pumping money they're pumping up the yen. That's what this is. But read this part. The speed and degree of the yen swings right here raised speculation about whether Japanese officials were making moves to prop up the value of their currency. That's what this looks like. The yen has long been under pressure as the Bank of Japan kept interest rates remarkably low to encourage more inflation in its economy. Only last month did it end its policy to keep its benchmark interest rates below zero. The Bank of Japan's latest decision on rates came on Friday when it held interest rates steady. That helped spur this latest leg of weakness for the yen. The market may have been reacting to the lack of commitment by the Bank of Japan for more rate hikes in the near term, and the yen may remain under pressure into the third quarter of this year, strategies at Bank of America said in BMA Global Research report. That's in part because of how solid the U.S. economy has remained. Speaking of propped up economies, yeah, the U.S. economy is doing great. I'm sure none of you living in the U.S. go to the grocery store, so you don't see the cost of things. They just slide in a little bit of that. So it's like two propped up currencies. Oh, boy. With inflation and the economy still higher than forecast, expectations are rising for the Federal Reserve to keep its main interest rate high for a while. That's kept U.S. Treasury yields high and put upward pressure on the U.S. dollar value. A weak yen is good for U.S. tourists heading to Japan, meaning each dollar of theirs buys more yen. It can also mean a boon for Japan's exporters because it boosts the value of their sales made in U.S. dollars when translated back into yen. But keeping the yen weak carries risks. A central one is that it could cause inflation in Japan ultimately to overshoot targets and hurt the world's third largest economy. Japan's imports almost all its energy. For example, a barrel of oil gets traded in dollars, not yen. Wow, well, there's that. And then what does this mean to Bitcoin? So Cory Klippsten, the CEO of Swan Bitcoin, who we've interviewed on the show. If you go to my Bitcoin playlist, you can see my interview with Cory. Really fascinating guy, and I'm sure we'll have more interviews with him as well. Swan is a really solid company. The Japanese yen looks absolutely tragic right now. This is from Cory on Twitter today. Might want to sell yen for Bitcoin just in case it catches on. Right? Because this what he's showing you on this chart, you go, well, the price is going up, right? This is how low it got, and it's been going up, and it's coming down. He's saying this is propped up. This is propped up. Because it's not doing well against the dollar. This is something, again, talked about a lot when I was guest hosting Orange Pill podcast. It's a thing Max Kaiser talks about a lot. Michael Saylor talks about this a lot. These currencies will start going to zero, and where are people going to put their money? Bitcoin. So the dollar we know is propped up because we've been printing all this money, especially since COVID 4 years ago. Just saying. This is the kind of thing that makes you go, like, in the short run, it's going to be kind of crazy. Even for Bitcoin holders, it's going to be nuts. The Bitcoin price could be very volatile. In the long run, you're going to win. So if you can just buy a little Bitcoin and hang on to it, you will benefit. We're going to keep staying on top of this sort of stuff because this is significant. This Bitcoin, why I'm such a big proponent of it, it is the only time in human history where regular people can buy and get in on this thing that is going to be the most valuable thing in the world. You can buy as little as $10 worth of Bitcoin right now. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, and shave your knuckles for justice. Ba-boom.